Hi guys, good day. And today we'll be discussing about the topic turning theoretical concepts into practical solutions. In business, you have to be able to take these theoretical concepts, models, frameworks, ideas, etc., and turn them into practical solutions. These concepts may include discipline, systems thinking, revenue model, scalability, marketing mix, etc. And the example that I'll be giving today to explain this in details is systems thinking. Systems thinking is an approach to problem solving that takes into account the overall system as well as its individual parts. I was watching a YouTube video by Justin Song about systems thinking, and he was able to explain it in a way that he came up with, a way that shows practical solutions to systems thinking from his own point of view. Now, I'm not saying that everything he did is entirely original, but it had a feel of originality in it. Now, remember the definition of systems thinking that I gave earlier. Now, I'm going to show you the practical solutions that he came up with. He broke his approach to systems thinking into three principles. But before that, let me give you the background to the examples that he used to explain this. He said most people make intentions instead of systems. And these intentions may look like I need to exercise more, I need to sleep more, I need to finish this course, etc. But the problem with these intentions is that it relies on willpower and motivation, which is not reliable for long term visions, tasks, activities, etc. Why? Because it will fail. Instead, these intentions must be structured in a way that is automatic, that does not rely on willpower or motivation, but must take into account a lot of variables that will lead to its success. Now, let us look at principle one. He called it thinking about things holistically, which means for that intention of I need to exercise regularly after work, what are the factors that will negatively affect me not completing this intention? For example, I was tired after work, or there was traffic on the road, or something came up at work that kept me late at work, etc. Then you need to look at what can I do about these negative roadblocks. And if you have tried the intention before, the question to ask yourself is what did I do to respond to these roadblocks? And then you repeat the cycle all over and over again. You name the intention, you list the possible roadblocks, and you figure out solutions to these possible roadblocks. We move on to the second principle, which is repeatability, which states that you should build your system for repeatability. And that is why I believe that many success stories are different. Although some general principles like discipline, hard work, determination still echoes in these stories, they are totally different. Many are not conscious of it, but now you are, and you should use it. So you don't have to follow the roadmap of your heroes because their lives, their tendencies, their environments, their situations, etc., are different from yours. So you have to build your own roadmap, your own plans for success. But remember, the general principles like hard work, determination, discipline still applies. So let's get back to step two, repeatability. Repeatability means that the system has to work on the worst day and does not rely on motivation or willpower as much as possible. On your bad day, can the system still work? For example, days of tiredness, days of traffic, or even worst, will the system still hold up? The first two principles involves circling back and forth from principle 1 to principle 2. Do expect your first, second, third, or fourth system to be perfect. But as you keep going back, identifying the task, knowing the obstacles, your response to these obstacles, then finding the best repeatability sweet spot for the task or work, you will be able to find the best system for you. As you can see, guys, I look tired in some of the clips of today's video, and it's because it's really time to shoot video. As someone who is just learning video production for this YouTube channel, it takes multiple clips and it does get tiring. But ignore that and focus on the video and the lessons for today. It will get better as I practice more on video editing for YouTube. So focus on the video and learn the lessons that the video is telling you. Let's get back to the video. Please also note that this process does not completely eliminate discomfort. Part of success still requires hard work, but it eliminates the majority of the problems/barriers in the process. Now, if you are just doing the first two principles, you'll be successful. But the third principle is what makes the system to stay with you and evolve for life. The third principle is called peel the band-aids. And in this principle, for example, your intention is to read more. But during the course of acting out your new system, you found out that you have a poor attention span. So what you did to temporarily correct that, in other words, putting a band-aid, is to use a timer when you are reading to help you focus. But remember, it is a band-aid because one, it bloats your system by adding things that shouldn't be there. And two, what if a day comes that you don't have a timer? What you want to do long term is to remove this limitation, this temporary solution. And doing that means you have to work on solving the underlying problem, which is how do I train my attention span to be stronger? And often these underlying problems requires a change in habits, which means unlearning and retraining your habits, which is going to take a long time. Doing this, the system we create ends up being effective for us, not only for the short term, but also in the long term. So these are the three principles guiding systems thinking by Justin Song. The very act of training your habits so that you can one day remove the band-aids should actually be part of your system. Remember earlier we mentioned that the solution to the band-aid is to train your attention span to become more stronger. This should then become a new goal which will pass through the process of the first two principles to work that into our system. I would like to at this point bring a Bible verse into this, because I believe all the productivity principles, the self-help teachings, the discipline rules all came from the Bible. Both the ones that were taught correctly and the ones that were taught wrongly. Let us go to Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6 to 11. I'll put the scriptures on the screen for a minute for you to read. While we should be aware of the warnings, my focus is on verse 8. Yet it stores its provisions in summer. If you look at the ants, they start to become active in the spring as the temperature starts to warm up after months of dormancy or reduced activity. But during the summer, the ants are in full force. Then during the fall, the ants starts to prepare for winter. Their focus is on gathering and storing food for sustenance during the colder months. Finally, during the winter, the ants slow down and often become dormant. Did you notice that this in itself is systems thinking? Finding the best slash optimal time to do your best work on that goal or intention so as to get the best result. This is an example of how to turn theoretical concepts, models, frameworks, ideas into practical solutions. Now, this brings to an end the topic of today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, goodbye and God bless.